Do you want to create crazy spin with your wedges? In today's YouTube video, I talk through 5 ways you can start to create crazy spin. We analyze this theory and the impact factors behind it, then I give you the keys to the setup, as well as many more factors. First part about being able to create crazy spin is understanding spin loft. So first off, we actually need to take one of our most lofted clubs. I've got my 54 degree here, you may carry a 56 as well. I'm going to hit the shot away and I'm going to talk about what spin loft is. Please spin back. Whew, that could be quite close, that. Looking now at the data as we jump into the flight scope here, we can see that we've got the faint grey line there. That is our horizon, so that's our ground level. The red line illustrates our angle of attack, and the green line illustrates the loft the club has at impact. This shaded area between the green and the red highlights our spin loft. And you can see there, the ball will always launch higher towards where the face is, the green, than it does your angle of attack. The most common misconception here is, I think a lot of people think you have to get more down on the golf ball. Well, if we get more down on the golf ball and reduce the loft, this vector becomes smaller, our spin loft becomes smaller, so our potential to create spin becomes smaller. Now, there is an advocate of this. Some people who create a lot on a high spin loft, it will drop off after a point due to friction. So the bigger this shaded area gets, will create spin, more spin up until a point. So now if we explore that a little bit further, what we're saying here is, if we were someone who was trying to create spin by putting the ball back and getting steep and hitting down on the golf ball a lot, and we did that with reducing the loft, all that's going to do is just lower our launch. All we're going to do there is hit it lower. And vice versa, if we try and scoop it and add a lot of loft, if we add too much loft and had too much spin loft, we're not going to create enough friction on the face between the ball and the club to create enough spin. So that is the science behind it. How do we actually create some crazy spin? The second factor that we need is speed. So in all shots, when we hit a shot away, we create spin, and the more speed we have, the potential to create more spin. So my second point out of our list of 5 is to create some more speed at the bottom of the hit. Remember, we're looking at creating a large spin loft, but not too big. We don't create enough friction. So now let's jump into how we set up to it, and point number 3, so you can actually apply this to your golf shots. The setup. Now, we briefly talked about what I usually see with a lot of people, and when I was learning to play golf, and I'm still learning to play golf, by the way, but when I was a junior, I thought, put the ball back, compress it, I'll create lots of spin. When really all I was doing is creating a lower launch. Now we know that. So in terms of setup, I want you to take a stance which is just narrow shoulder width apart. Remember, I'm only hitting this roughly around 80 yards. I'm not hitting it a long way. So on my other videos, I talked about the setup mirror the length of the shot. So that's what I'd say. Ball position, I want you to be in the middle of your stance. And I want you to feel like your shoulders, feet and knees are parallel to your ball to target line to begin with. And then just at the last minute, we pull that left foot away. You'll notice here my hands aren't excessively ahead of the golf ball, they're just on the golf ball, okay? So the feeling now in the shot, once we've created those good setup points, is to create shallow divots. The word I like to use for people is a bruising action. So I would take some practice swing, bruising it. You'll notice on the way through, I'm not driving the golf club, I'm not flicking it, I call it soft hands. So there's a softness and a speed to the bottom of the hit, and a bruising action. I'm feeling it, I'm extending up, I'm not driving that golf club into the ground. Remember, we're all about those vectors. We want to be slightly on the down, and we want to have an amount of loft that's not too much, so we get a big spin loft, okay? Remember, up until a point, it drops off, we won't create any spin at all. But we're looking to create an optimum amount of spin here. So I've got my 54 degree, ball in the middle, parallel, pull the back, feeling of that spin and softness, and hold and pose that finish. That's got so much on it. Really nice hit, and it's something that I struggle with that, and I have to almost give, like I'm giving you guys a lesson now, I have to do that to myself if I want to play that shot out on the golf course. So it's all well and good having those factors and understanding how we create spin now with spin loft, so it's not steep and it's not hands ahead, and it's understanding that it may drop off. We also know how we're going to set up to the golf ball and that we need some speed, but there are two other things that are out of our control which are a massive factor when creating spin. Number 4 on our list is the lie. You notice here I'm in Portugal, I'm at San Lorenzo, it's a beautiful place, these fairways are pristine, and guess what? The grass is tight. So tight grass is something that we need, a perfect lie and tight grass. We definitely need that. Other environmental factors are how soft are the greens, what's the grass like on the greens, because again, that's out of our control. So number 4 on our list is the environment. The final part on this list, this is one that's down to our equipment, so we're classing this as club and ball. We need a relatively soft ball and we need a club face that at the very least is clean. Now it's not realistic for me to say go and buy a new wedge every 2 or 3 months or have one wedge for practice, one wedge for play, because it's not realistic, golf's expensive. So what I would say is as long as your grooves are clean and up until a point of wear, you've got the best chances that you have to now create crazy spin. So I want to summarize it in today's video now to finish us off. We now understand that we don't have to put the ball back in our stance and create a big drive to create that spin. We need to hit down the golf ball slightly, that bruising action, and we need to create a spin loft. And that's the difference between our angle of attack and our club face loft impact. Okay, too big, the shade area, we're not going to create any spin, it's going to drop off, not enough friction. But the optimum, there we can start to create some nice spin on the greens, and anytime we can create that spin, it's nice to show off to our friends, but also it's nice to see it rip back as well. Thank you for joining me on today's YouTube video to how to create crazy spin. Hope this gives you a really good insight on how you can now create it out on the golf course. Try it, implement it, and I'd love to know how you get on with it. Thank you for watching, and see you next time on Alex Elliott Golf.